Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the relatively uncommon poison-type Pokemon Koffing and its uncommon, pure poison-type or potentially poison fairy-type evolution Weezing, the two collectively known as the Poison Gas Pokémon. Noxious to even be near and a sure nuisance to those that still have their sense of smell, the members of the Koffing family are toxic creatures that can really turn any nice calm room into a putrid smelling dungeon that even the best gas mask won't be able to fully counter.
Koffing have spherical purple bodies with black pinprick eyes, a large fanged mouth, and a wide skull and crossbone shaped pattern on the front of their form. Their bodies are adorned with a number of ports that lead in and out of their interior, where they suck in, store, and release noxious gases for offense, defense, and to keep afloat. Their evolved form, Weezing, retain much the same general form as Koffing, though their mouths are notably different, with a large pair of canines on the lower jaw and two flattened teeth on their upper jaw. Moreover, they tend to consist of three spheroids linked together physically, with a face on both the largest unit and the second largest, the second face having an appearance more like their pre-evolved form. It is further noted that these creatures have a unique regional variant within the Galar region, which have a dark grey body color with large cylindrical growths on the two largest units that look like smokestacks. In addition, their forms have puffs of green, concentrated gas that collect on their face almost like facial hair, allowing them to release safe, clean air through their upper head structures. It is currently unknown whether or not Koffing and Weezing are actually natural organisms, as their origins are unclear, ranging from a Kanto bathhouse to a weapons factory hidden in the forests of Japan, and are only linked by their relationship to heat and odor. Considering their relatively recent appearance in nature though, first appearing before the time of the Industrial Revolution of Britain, it is quite likely that they, like Grimer, were somehow set into their current form by the manipulation of the natural environment by humans. Inside of these creatures are several types of noxious gases that can become highly lethal when mixed together, despite being relatively non-toxic and only smelly when isolated. While the exact compounds tend to vary among individuals, flammable hydrocarbons seem to be the most consistent component within their noxious fumes, in turn pointing towards human manipulation as the source behind their current existence. The fumes themselves are considerably potent even when not properly mixed, and are capable of causing teary eyes, sniffles, and coughing fits among life forms within their general vicinity. When mixed, the effects are much more drastic, and the resulting fumes can easily poison and sometimes kill others in the case of small rodents and insects.
Since they generally don't need a lot of energy to survive, Koffing and Weezing are able to completely sustain themselves off the noxious fumes present in the surrounding atmosphere, particularly those produced by rotting garbage, effectively breaking down and reforming complex toxic chemicals and using the resultant net energy as fuel.
As far as Weezing goes, these creatures are among one of several evolutionary cases of either self-cloning or fusion between multiple life forms to produce a completely new organism. Normally when Koffing evolve, they begin producing massive volumes of toxic gases in an effort to strengthen the toxicity of their own internal concoctions. Because these volumes cannot be stored within a single body, Koffing undergo a state of incomplete duplication and fusion in one go, mutating into Weezing within a relatively short period of time. Between Koffing and Weezing though, there is a sense of shared combat capabilities, as well these creatures are able to sometimes use their gases to stay above the ground and thus possess Levitate as a base ability, or otherwise stink so horribly that they possess Stench as a hidden ability. They really shine in their other base ability, Neutralizing Gas, which is completely unique to them and allows them to release toxic gases that befuddle all present Pokemon and in turn completely neutralize their abilities, potentially ruining any ability-based strategies either side in battle might rely on. And looking at their stats on the same note, while they might not appear to be dangerous despite their toxic fumes, Weezing are surprisingly sturdy creatures that are able to use their physical forms to deal considerable damage directly, with their base attack and defense stats being above average for a fully evolved poison-type Pokemon, so there is still some merit to using them in battle.
Although the skin of Koffing is exceptionally dense and resistant against physical blows, it is also thin enough to be translucent when viewed up close, and surprisingly flexible, thus allowing them to use themselves as both mixers and pressure cookers.
By quickly expanding and contracting their bodies, Koffing can mix the toxic gases within their bodies to varying amounts and can thus utilize a surprising array of gas-based moves, including the Smog, Clear Smog, and Belch attacks, as well as the Poison Gas, Smoke Screen, and Haze techniques. the relative toxicity of their gases is also highly dependent upon the ambient air temperature, as high temperatures act as a catalyst for the reactions inside their bodies and thus allow them to produce deadlier toxins at a faster rate. This, along with the fact that coughing can expand the skin despite its rigid structure, means that they can turn themselves into portable pressure cookers and can condense a large volume of gas within a very small amount of space. In practice, a single coughing can store enough gas within its body to completely engulf a typical single-story house in a fog of putrid gas.
It is also noted that coughing may intentionally swallow a piece of rotting garbage to serve as a catalyst for chemical reactions. By rapidly breaking down the rotting garbage into a purely gaseous state, and then mixing it with their own, coughing can produce a poison gas technique that is only outdone in terms of pure toxicity by the evolved form, wheezing.
Thankfully, it is usually quite easy to tell when a coughing is about to attack, as it will rapidly inflate its body before sharply contracting it, forcefully expelling stored gas out of the small holes lining its skin. Unfortunately, because the gases contained within them are usually quite flammable, coughing can also overinflate their bodies to the point where the ambient air temperature more easily affects their internal body temperature, heating up and igniting their stored gases in a devastating self-destruct attack. While coughing can easily reform their bodies after such attacks, opponents are often less fortunate and can often be overwhelmed with little trouble, regardless of whether it is an explosion itself or the toxic gases accompanying it that kills them. Looking at the strange forms of their evolution, it is noted that each separate head on a weezing contains specific types of toxins, separated from one another by elemental and physical properties. While the exact compounds tend to vary among weezing, this split is usually done on the basis of separating toxins that are easily ignited from those that are more stable, though the exact reason why is still unknown.
Nonetheless, this means that standard wheezing are virtually identical to coughing in terms of overall anatomy, and are only truly distinct because of their increased combat abilities and capacity to use the heat wave and double hit attacks, the latter of which they gain access to immediately after evolving.
It is noted, though, that wheezing possess a third unit connected to the other two, like a bizarre triangle. This chamber holds no gases nor much of a structure beneath its surface and is believed to simply exist as a counterbalance between the other two to keep them floating in a fixed, non-rotating position. Interestingly enough, though, a wheezing is not always formed from a single coughing, but sometimes two separate ones. If the gases from two coughing are allowed to mix and enter one another's structures over a period of several days, the two may eventually fuse together into a single coherent unit. Along these same lines, it has further been reported that wheezing triplets have been seen roaming in the wild, though their sightings are exceptionally rare. While coughing generally enjoy the smell given off by running garbage, wheezing are absolutely obsessed with it and will live anywhere they can to devour such noxious smells, even among otherwise occupied places. In large cities, wheezing tend to be nocturnal because at night they can sneak into filthy apartments and homes unseen and can go through trash at their leisure, particularly kitchen trash. Unfortunately for humans, wheezing have few preferences in terms of location and will gladly go through buildings that are both abandoned and currently in operation. Unlike coughing, wheezing constantly mix the gases in their bodies in order to ensure that they are at the most lethal levels possible, with each head alternating between inflating and contracting to create an even mix. When expelled, these concentrated gases can easily cover an area of a radius of 100 feet with little trouble and often exceed that number, choking anything within the vicinity of the wheezing in question. In addition, wheezing can also inflate their bodies to the point where the skin becomes thin enough for the gases within their bodies to be heated up by the outside air temperature, igniting the flammable gases in a massive explosion attack, while simultaneously spreading all of the toxic gases at least 50% farther than the extent of the blast radius. It is interesting to note, though, that while the toxicity of their fumes is largely dependent upon the ambient air temperature and is for all intents and purposes about the same as that possessed by coughing, the unique mix of gases within wheezing actually has a pleasant fragrance. The issue is that it is so concentrated that the smell alone is virtually toxic. When diluted to exceptionally high levels, however, the gases of a wheezing can be combined with water to form a potent elixir that is often used as the prime ingredient in most high-class perfumes, granting an otherwise light fragrance a bold and uplifting punch.
It is lastly noted that wheezing are only one of a few species of Pokemon known to have unique variant within the confines of the Galar region.
In this region, these creatures possess the same base stats, but are poison fairy types, possess the Misty Surge ability as a hidden ability instead of stench, and have access to the Fairy Wind, Defog, Aromatic Mist, Aromatherapy, and Misty Terrain moves, and can additionally use the Strange Steam attack, a signature attack of theirs that uses Fairy Force energy infused steam to damage others and potentially confuse them. The existence of Galarian Weezing is still a bit of a mystery in the Galar region, as it is known that in the relatively recent past, these creatures existed as normal Weezing and acted identically to their non-Galarian counterparts. However, during the Industrial Revolution, it seems that an overload of toxic chemicals in the air triggered a highly unusual mutation that altered their physical states immensely, transforming them into effectively the opposite of what they once were, and granting them the unique capacity to generate Fairy Force energy. In this form, Galarian Weezing, unlike their normal counterparts, are actually air pollution eliminators. As while the toxins are weaker than that of their normal counterparts, they can suck in air much more strongly, and instead of pumping out toxic gas, these creatures instead suck in toxic gas particles and use their internal Fairy Force energy reserves to clean out the toxic particles before releasing them as purified air from the smokestack-like structures that adorn their two main body segments, the processed toxins accumulating on their faces. This, along with the fact that they don't produce droppings of any sort, has effectively made these creatures a welcome sight in the Galar region and a valued contributor to the region's ecosystems, a stark contrast to the toxic monsters that are expected from the species in all other parts of the world where they roam. Their unique type combination and interesting mix of attacks and techniques only serves to further their advantages over their normal counterparts, and helps to make these toxic creatures powerful entities when placed on just about any battlefield, as does the fact that they share with normal Weezing above average base attack and defense stats as both fully evolved poison and fairy type Pokemon.
These things stink, and that is very much an understatement. I understand that some people really enjoy using poison-type Pokemon, and that's great and all, but of all the families to work with, unless you're using them purely for smokescreen purposes, the Koffing family definitely wouldn't be my first choice in any capacity. They by far are not among the weakest of their type, but the sheer smell of them is enough to make me want to stay as far away as possible. Their Galarian variant is at least more comfortable to be around, considering they pump out clean air. But even then, they are capable of putrid offenses that simply don't jive with me in the slightest. If you like working with them, go right ahead, it's up to you. But for me, there just isn't anything that's going to make me willing to share space with them anytime soon.
While they certainly might not be one's first thought when it comes to having a safe partner to work with, the members of the Koffing family are still potent creatures that can more than use toxic fumes to irritate and suffocate those that get too close to them. Whether or not they end up like a bouquet of roses or rotting landfill in terms of smell might depend on the region they develop in, but either way, they can more than have a toxic presence that can slowly whittle away even the strongest of opponents.
Just do yourself a favor and try to wear some sort of face protection if you need to get close to them in the wild or battle. They might not intend to harm those they belong to, but when these monsters unleash what's in their horrific interiors, you might find yourself in the crossfire as their gas travels everywhere around them, totally incapacitating even those they're not trying to directly harm.
Thank you all for watching this video. It is always a pleasure to help teach others about the world of Pokemon and the many facets of it that exist in both the world we call home and the world they call home. If you'd like, please leave a comment and subscribe and ring the bell to this channel to get regular updates on content and anything else that might be going on. You can find me and my written work on DeviantArt under the name Utitus, and be informed of information and content uploads on my Twitter page and my Patreon page. Donations are always welcome. Always remember, the world of Pokemon is a vast and varied place, and there's no telling what secrets might be hiding just around the corner. So keep watch, stay vigilant, and always prepare for the unexpected. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.